right, guys, welcome back. This is going to be another monthly review style video, mainly because it's been a while since I've done one. I think it's been 2 months or 3, not sure, but it's a new month and it's fitting that I do a monthly review given that I just finished my review for May. So this is basically going to cover all the previous months into this one, at least when it comes to the lessons that I've learned over the past few months. And they're all related to time, essentially. It's 2 lessons, the key lessons that I've learned. So number 1 is regarding patience. It's something that it's very easy to miss, let's say, or forget, because we live in a world where we are expecting everything to be instantaneous. We want results to be instantaneous, action to be instantaneous, change to be instantaneous. We want everything as fast as possible. And when it comes to personal development, I found that it's a delicate balance to keep that patience at bay while also remembering that things take time and that you're making progress towards something, even if that progress feels non-existent or is so small that it feeds the impatience, if that makes sense. So what I mean by that, just to word it in a different way, is that building a business, personal development, it's all about improving yourself, learning skills, all the different skills there are in life. So it could be soft skills, hard skills, whatever. And it's sometimes very hard to appreciate how much progress you're actually making because we live in day to day, right? I'm only experiencing life on a day-to-day basis, and that's typically how you start to look at things on a micro level. But I oftentimes forget that to actually really assess how fast or slow or just get an accurate depiction of whatever progress I'm making and is actually happening, I have to zoom out. But it's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day that I oftentimes forget to do that. So that's been one of the biggest lessons the past few months. Just a reminder that, number 1, I have to be more patient with myself. I've set some pretty ambitious goals for myself, not just financially, but also in terms of the type of man that I want to become and the type of skills that I want to learn and master. And all of this takes time. And I've been fighting with a lot of frustration, a lot of pent-up anger, that part of me feels that I should be making progress a lot faster than what I am. And it causes me frustration pretty often on a day-to-day. But also, I look back at how much I've progressed the past 2 years or the past year even, and it's like, whoa, I've changed a fuck ton. I've changed a lot. I've gotten a whole lot better. But on the day-to-day, it just feels like a slow-ass grind. It's like when you're building, or like when you're working out. And I'm not a huge guy. I'm not like 6 foot or anything like that. And sometimes or at least in the past, I used to get frustrated. Like, damn, I'm spending all this fucking time going to the gym and I'm not like growing. But if I look, because I track all this, main reason why, tracking is important, I look at my progress in terms of like exercises and the average weight that I'm doing in my sets and reps, etc. And it's been going up over time, over the past few years. If I zoom in on a day-to-day or a week-by-week case, it feels like I'm just lifting the same fucking weight. But when I look back at a year or 2 years, I can clearly see progress. And it's been a very recurring theme the past few months, especially when it comes to the skills that I've been working on or that I was well aware that I was lacking, such as management, sales, leadership, marketing, things that I'm aware that I want to, skills that weren't at the level that I wanted them to be and that I've been dedicating a lot of time to improve on. While balancing, the impatience and frustration of why is this shit taking so long or why am I not getting fast good enough? And it all comes down to, number 1, patience. Putting the reps in, and over time, I noticed that it's inevitable to get better, right? But It's just been another reminder that it's going to take time. It's not going to be a one week thing or a 1 day thing. So I like these reviews because they make me zoom out and really assess my progress and just catch myself, essentially just catch my breath in myself and analyze that even if it's small progress, progress is still progress. And that I really won't be able to see the impact or the huge difference that my development is going to make until probably 6 months down the line or a year down the line. Because I remember a year ago, I was also going through a challenging time and I committed to changing certain things about myself, about how I was working, how I was doing, and just, again, go through another period of self-development. And I felt stuck for 6 months from June to November, December. But now I look back at that time and I see huge progress. It's like, damn, I don't even recognize myself. It's a completely different person. But again, zooming out, micro versus macro. So that's been one key lesson that I've learned, or at least that it's been brought up again, top of mind the past few months. And the second lesson is also related to time. Specifically, I don't know what to call it, but essentially, I read a book recently called 4,000 Weeks. And it's tied into things that I've been pondering, particularly since I turned 30, right? It's a book talking about how if on average you live to be 80 years old, you're gonna live about 4,000 weeks before you die, right? But this is on average. This is assuming you don't die from an accident, assuming you don't get sick, assuming no outlier situations. And since turning 30 years old earlier this year, I've been very much aware, or just a heightened awareness of how fast time flies, and just realizing that, damn, I'm oftentimes caught up in the pursuit of achievements, but I'm sacrificing memories in the long run, if that makes sense, because I get so obsessed about pursuing a particular goal, but maybe I should take a step back to actually enjoy the moment, because that's something that's been, I would say that I haven't done that particularly well in my life overall. And now I've gotten extra aware of it, and I've been making an effort, which again, I confess has not been easy because it's not something that I've naturally been used to. But that book really got me thinking a lot about how, for example, I like to work a fuck ton. Even if I'm not making progress, or even if it's frustration, but I like doing things, right? Or at least shooting towards millions of dollars. That's the goal. But the work is always gonna be there. There's always gonna be more work. So it's easy, or at least it made me realize that I myself get caught up in these cycles where I'm just getting as much done off the to-do list, or getting as much work done as possible. But tomorrow there's gonna be a fresh batch of tasks or a fresh batch of work waiting for me. It's never gonna end. And essentially, it's like this conditioning of, since we are kids, we are brought up and just being told like, hey, you're gonna go to school soon, and then you're at school, and then it's like, hey, you're gonna go to college soon, and then you're in college, and then like, hey, you're gonna go to actually work and get a job soon, and then you're working, and it's like, hey, now you gotta save, and then you gotta buy a house and retirement. Essentially, it's always this living for the future, not living in the present. And I've been thinking about that a fuck ton too the past few months. And also I had a conversation with my dad, and this is something that, one of the main reasons why I really want to get fucking rich is so that my parents don't have to work anymore. Because for the longest time, even when I was still living back home, my parents were always the ones who were always working. They were known in my family as they never go to the birthday parties, they always miss the gatherings, they always leave early because they have to work the next day. That's how they're known, right? Because they're just working all the time because they have to. And that is one of my main motivators, just to fucking break that cycle. And lately, I talk with my parents like every week. I was talking to my dad, and my parents are 60 at this point in life. And he was basically telling me how he was struggling to come to terms with the fact that he just no longer had the same drive or the same motivation to be working all the damn time, because he feels like he's 60, he's recognizing that he's getting older, And he feels like he hasn't enjoyed life because all he's done is just work. And that pissed me the fuck off because I hate the fact that I'm not in a position to change that at all. That fucking pisses me off. And the best thing that I thought at that position that I could do was just basically to discuss, discuss a lot of these things with my dad as well. Just the books I read and how I'm thinking through life and what I'm, assessing at certain points in my life in terms of my development. And I shared with him these concepts, right? The concept of time, how to live for memories instead of achievements necessarily, just balancing that, especially them or him and my mom, where they're like 60 years old now, that maybe it's fine if I, who's 30 years younger, sacrifice a few years, but they've already done the sacrifice. They should not be slaving away for what at that point in their life. So just conversations that I have on the regular. And it's also another thing that I've been really, really reflecting on the past few months, right? Just, I don't even know what the conclusion is, to be honest. It's just like on one side, I want to be able to do something now, get them out of that and just break them free. But also, there's a part of me that also tries to look into the future where I don't want that to happen to me either. Or maybe just reflecting on what is the sacrifice that I'm making or willing to make in order to either avoid that or get them out of that. So as you can see, it's a lot of reflection, just things that go through my mind. But it's funny. I like having those conversations because it really brings to attention a lot of things, right? I went to a trip earlier this year to Peru for my 30th birthday. I even made videos and I never fucking uploaded them. I might just upload them just because, but that's not the point. The point is that I went to that trip and for half the trip, I honestly was stressed out of my mind just because I was working so much, had work on my mind to the point where I barely enjoyed the trip. And that's really a point where I noticed that this was a fucking problem. Like if I'm doing that, I should enjoy it, because it happened that months afterwards, when I'm talking with my girlfriend about how nice the trip was, I remember the trip in a good memory, in a good light. But during the trip, I was stressed the fuck out of my mind. And then I wondered, what was the point of that whole stress, right? If I committed to having that week to just enjoying that time, I should have lived in the present. So it's a lesson that I'm still learning. And it's a tough one for sure. And this thought process is essentially what I was talking with my dad, just like giving him like, hey, because he's always worked for as long as I can remember, just hours grinding away, and just basically like, hey, like it's 60, you're 60 years old. It's like, you don't have to do this anymore. I mean, I wish I could do that from a position of a stronger financial, let's say, safety, where I could just like completely eliminate all of their responsibilities, but still not at that point. But yeah, it does bring a lot of interesting conversations and thoughts into my conscience, because life goes by fast, man. It's like 60, and then we're also having the discussion because his dad, my grandfather, passed away when he was 61. And my dad is almost 60. And it's like that, damn, like if I died today, would I be okay with it? And same thing, I've known people who died, when they were like 32, 35, and I'm like, damn, I'm 30. Like that's just a few more years down the line. So yeah, sad turn of events. I'm not sad, just like somber topics, let's say. But those have been the two key lessons, or just two key themes that I've been really pondering about in recent months. And as I say it and as I think about it, it does feel kind of like a contradiction, because on one side it's like, be patient, everything's gonna work out, keep working on what you're doing, keep building the skills, yada, yada, yada. And on the other side, I'm just thinking like, okay, but is it gonna be worth it? Because there's always going to be a new skill to learn, something else to do, more work to do. It's a matter of really defining what is the end, what is the goal for myself, really. So interesting times. So But it's good because actually I feel this has probably been one of the most enlightening years, I would say, just in my life. Because I've also been able to realize how a lot of the things that I used to value or pay attention or get stressed over in previous years or just like in the previous decade really serve no purpose or really have no bearing on my life at all. And it has helped me, even though it's still, I'm still organizing a lot of ideas and thoughts in my mind and priorities in my life and everything. I'm constantly reassessing my values, constantly reassessing my end goals, not just financially, but freedom-wise or the impact I want to have on my family, on the people I interact with. And at least it has helped me to start identifying some things that I've completely removed from my life because I realized they were non-important at all. So yeah, that is my review for the past couple months. Lots of thinking, and I think that's going to be a continuing theme for this year. I will still continue to work on my personal development, of course, but I like having these ideas in consciousness, these thoughts in consciousness, because you never know. So yeah, on that note, just to share, I'm also on that note of building memories and just living life. I'm gonna be leaving Colombia for a few months because life is about experiences, and there's only so many experiences you can experience from your apartment, right? Life is lived outside. Yeah, despite how much of our life in today's day and age takes place through a screen, life is lived outside. And I always like to remind myself of that. So yeah, if you made it this far, I really want to thank you for listening me to, just listening to me rambling on and on about what's going on in my life. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. But yeah, that's the video for today. Lessons, reflecting, just documenting what I'm going through. So yeah, so thank you for watching. I really appreciate it if you're still here, and I'll catch you on the next one.